Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's Tammy Sansai, and I wanted to address something that has come to my attention a couple of times this month because it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And as usual, I'm getting requests from people to speak at events or participate in panels or, write things about mental health, about suicide prevention and awareness. And I recognize that there isn't already that much awareness, especially from the perspective of somebody who has gone through suicide attempts or suicidal ideations like I have. So, because of that, the language that is used is often very triggering or insensitive. And I have had to address that a couple of times because people come to me, and this is something that it's unpleasant for me to talk about, and it's not comfortable really in any way. I recognize that as a mental health advocate and as somebody who is actively working to change the perception around these kinds of issues. In scapegoating myself, I have opened myself up to criticism, to stigma, to backlash, to all kinds of unsolicited responses from people. And that is to be expected. I understand that. I accept that. However, I have received some requests personally that were triggering or that were really insensitive in their phrasing, and they required me to be almost performative in the way that I handle discussions around suicide prevention, around suicidal ideations, around attempts with these experiences. And because I want to have other people understand, I've decided to do this video. So really what I want to say is that if you know someone who has suicidal thoughts or ideations, whether they're active or passive, and active means the person has a plan, a method, a tool, a day and a time, they have already reached a stage where they want to do this and are putting things in place to make it happen, like they're giving away their things, they're quitting classes, or just making some kind of steps that are very concerning to show you or to show that they're serious about what they want to do. That is considered active. And in terms of passive suicidal thoughts, it's not so much about a plan. They do have similar thoughts. However, the difference is that the person is not actively planning anything. They just think about how they want to check out or not stick around, or how hopeless and unbearable life is all the time. So, for an example, they will be in a taxi and fantasize about they how relieved they would be if the taxi should crash, or if something would hit them as they're crossing the street, or something to that effect, or if they would go to sleep and not wake up so they don't have to face life, that kind of thing. That's passive suicidal ideations. Sorry, so you have active and you have passive. Now, regardless of where that person is on the spectrum, whether active or passive, whether they have had an attempt and survived an attempt, or whether it is somebody who has lost someone to suicide, so they personally know suicide victim or victims, then we need to be very careful in the way that we speak to these people, and in the way that we expect them to respond to us, regardless of our need for more information. In my case, I've been getting this year, this hasn't happened before, but this is the first year so far where I've been getting requests. People are asking me to speak about my personal experience with suicidal ideations and attempts. Now, based on the way that this is phrased, or based on, how do I put this? It can be very triggering based on how you phrase it, based on the language that you use, based on what you ask the person to do. So, I've been asked to come and talk about my experience attempting. Why would I want to do that? Why would you ask anyone to do that? Please do not do this. Don't do this. It's triggering. You don't know where the person is. You don't know if it is that they have passed that stage completely, if it is that they're still battling it, if it is that they just lost somebody. You don't know. So don't ask somebody, so what did you do? How did your body respond to that? How long did it take for you to bounce back? If the person volunteers the information, that's fine. But don't prod the person trying to get information about the attempt itself. It is really insensitive and can be very triggering. In my case, my last attempt at suicide was 10 years ago, and I no longer have active suicidal thoughts. I haven't even had passive suicidal thoughts in a while. However, based on these questions, like on a different day, because sometimes people ask me things like this, if it's somebody that I already have a relationship with and there's a closeness, I can understand them asking, that's fine. They'll ask me a question like this and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't bother me, I just answer them. In other cases, like on some days, the human mind is really interesting. So on some days, it can trigger you. On another day, it cannot. Sometimes it's just, okay, this is a teachable moment. Sometimes a request like that can take you right back to where you were in an instant, because that's just how the mind is, that's just how memory is. So I urge you guys, really, I understand that there is curiosity, I understand that there is need for information, I understand that the narrative is slowly changing and people want to know so that they can know what the signs are and how they can help and all of that. I love that. That is essentially what I want. That is what I signed up for. And in doing everything that I do to get people to talk about this and to direct people to help, then, that's the goal. However, please, I'm just saying, be very careful, be very kind, be very non-judgmental, be very sensitive in the language that you use, because you never know what it can cause. Words carry weight and everything means something. I've had persons say to me, it's an attention seeking thing. I've had persons say to me, if you really wanted to do it, why never do it and done? I've had persons say to me, so what did you use? Was it a knife? Did you take pills? Did you asking for the method? I've had people say, okay, walk me through the experience. And I'm speaking for myself, but I believe that other persons who have experienced this will agree that we don't owe you that. We can address what symptoms look like, how you can support someone, where to send people if they're going through that experience to get help. We can address all of the pain points and give you the information that you need without having to be triggered and go through this kind of deeply personal experience that can be painful and that can be very draining. So I would say, don't ask that of people. Please don't. And I hope you can understand. I am doing this video because I've had to address this multiple times. I'm going to put it out there so that it's a point of reference. I don't intend to always be saying this to people. So please don't ask me what I did, how, when, where, why. Don't imply that it was a selfish thing. The reason why people who do um, complete suicide are called victims is because they aren't selfish, but they're unable to help themselves, and they believe that they're beyond the point of help and everything will be better if they're not around. I know that was the case with me. So please be considerate, and if you don't know what to say, sometimes it's best just not to say anything. Allow the person to speak to you. If you do have to speak, just be very, very careful in the language that you're using. It's important, it matters, and it can create correlations or cause an effect that you don't want. All right, thanks for watching.